Our love story. It's the plot of many books and movies, the topic of many a song. Poets and philosophers have waxed on about it since the beginning of time. People have fought for it, died for it, killed for it, spent their lives searching for it. It makes the world go round. It lifts us higher and higher. It's even been said that it's all you need. We love a good love story. Some of the best might never be featured on the pages of a bestseller, so we're sharing a few of them with you now.
I'm Greg.
And I'm Ernest, and we've been together since...
A little over 10 years. Yeah. Well, we met a little over 10 years ago. Been married a little over 9 years.
My name is Ashley.
My name is Jared.
And we have been together for almost 3 years?
Going on 3.
Yes.
I'm Gina.
My name is Julie.
How long have we been together?
We've been together just a little over 15 years.
Yep.
My first name's Kylie, and let's see, we've been together about 3.5 years, I guess. Been married almost a year.
And my name is Mohammed.
I'm Lisa. And I'm Jackie, and we've been together just over 3 years now.
I'm Neil, and this is Kevin, and we've been together for 16 years.
My name's Emily. Go ahead.
And I'm Joe.
And we've been together for 10. We've been married for 5.
My name is Linda. We've been together almost 11 years.
My name is Beverly.
My name is Erna Ludwig.
I'm Kendall. We'll be married 8 years in November.
Yeah.
But we met long before that. We've known each other. This will be the 10th year, that we've known each other.
My name's Pam.
My name's Annie. We've been together
5 years.
5 years. Married for almost 2.
I'm Kurt. I'm Bob. We've been together. We're in our 34th year.
I'm Nicole.
David.
And we've been together 14 years. We've been married for 10 this September.
My name is Greg. And I'm Ganesh. And we have been together for almost 7 years.
I'm Gary. And I'm Bill. And we've been together a little over 35 years.
I'm Dana.
Maya.
And we've been together almost 10 years.
My name is Shyla Kiesling, and I have been with Zach for 4 years.
And my name is Zachary Kiesling, and we've been married for almost 8 months.
My name's Elizabeth, and I guess we'll start with we've been together for just about 5 years now.
And I'm Libby, and yes, it was the 4th of July, 2012.
I'm Kimball Lloyd-Jones. This is the lovely Mary Therese.
Known as Tess.
Tess. And we are in our 46th year of marriage, soon to be 47 next month.
I'm Michael Hoster. I've been with Jax for about 2.5 years.
And my name is Jackson Leria, and I've been with Mike for 2.5 years.
I hope so.
We met at a national conference, a 4P minus national conference in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania in 2014. So my oldest daughter, Camden, and Ashley's nephew, Talon, both have the same rare genetic disorder.
Yes.
And so we met by chance at a national conference for these kids.
We met at church.
We met through my older sister. She knew Libby, and I was new in town. And, I'm not a very social person. So, my sister said, "Ooh, I have somebody you need to meet." And it was Libby. and she was involved with the Pride Board. And then go right ahead.
So then her sister took her to the festival day, and briefly, while I had a 24-pack of water on my shoulder, taking it to some volunteers, I met them, just happened to run by them, and got a quick hug and met her, and that was the first time we saw each other face to face.
Yeah. It was such a great first impression, by the way. It really was.
Sweaty.
You were. She was just incredibly kind. And she's one of those people who you can talk to almost immediately. So.
How did we meet?
I was actually doing a round the world trip after university, a couple of years after that. And I met a girl from Indianapolis going around the world the other way. We were in New Zealand and we traveled together, and she said, "Oh, you're going to the States and Chicago, you should go to Indianapolis." And I was like, "Where is that?" And she said, "You can stay with some friends of mine." And so I did, and her friends took me to a barbecue on the 3rd of July, 2007.
A barbecue for the 4th of July.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
But it was on the 3rd.
Yeah, and I met him there.
That's the day we got rid of the British.
Got another one.
I had even went home that night and called one of my cousins and said, I met the woman that I'm going to marry. So she just
Confident.
Well, she just wasn't so sure yet. You know, I had to work on it.
We actually met at a bar, so we fight over which bar we met at that night. But it was Metro and Greg's.
Oh, you're admitting how it's Metro.
Well, because of you.
We met there first, and then it moved to Greg's, and basically there was a singer that was there, and basically I think that was the night where you gave me your phone number.
I did.
Yes, so I always bring out the prop, the original piece of paper from that bar, with his phone number, his email address, back in the days of AOL.com. At least it wasn't copies.
That was pre-cell phone.
Yes, that was pre-cell phone.
I think we met like a lot of people our age do nowadays, online.
So I was working promo work downtown. I was working for Colts, Bud Light stuff. I was handing out free T-shirts, going out to like different bars and different little locations where people were partying. And I got free tickets at the end of my shift, so I decided to go over to Basie's to get some food and hang out and see who could come with me to the game before, I left. Or otherwise I was going to go by myself. Because who gets sweet tickets and doesn't go, So I go over there and I run into people that I knew, so I sat down with them and, we're hanging out. I'm calling on my friends. No one can come to the Colts game with me. Everyone was busy or didn't answer. My roommate couldn't come, It was all these weird, I don't know, just you would think that a friend would be like, okay, I'll be right there. And so I sat down with these friends and I was like, look, nobody can come. The game starts in 10 minutes. Why don't you just take these tickets? It was a guy and her boyfriend, and they had to go as well. And so I finally, said, fine, I'm just going to ask the next guy that walks through the door. And, I was hoping that it wasn't like some old man or something, but it was Zach, and I waved him over to the table, and he came over and looked at me really crazy, and I was like, hey, can you go to a Colts game with me? My name is Shyla, And he was like, yeah, I can go. Let me go tell my boss I'm not coming back to work. And so I guess he had round and round with his boss, and finally he let him go. We went to the game and didn't stop talking for 2 hours, 3 hours, I don't know. And we told each other our whole life stories, just I don't know, it was really bizarre. But yeah, we were together shortly after, and we have been inseparable ever since.
That's pretty much the story, yeah.
It started with me.
The story of how we met.
The story of how we met. We've told it many times because it's so wonderful. I was a minister in Northeast Iowa, and I wrote an article for a church magazine on fathers and husbands for a Father's Day issue. And Julie subscribed to the magazine, and when she read the article, what happened?
I had a few theological disagreements with this minister, and I decided that's probably the first time in my life to write a letter to the editor, although it wasn't to the editor, it was directly to Gina. And and sent it off across the state. And
I was ticked off at no. She used to be a newspaper writer, which is funny. I answered her and we started discussing the theology and so forth, and she didn't let on that she was in a marriage in trouble, and she was absolutely determined not to divorce her husband. So we shared 3 letters back and forth and ultimately agreed on the things that we were talking about. And I gave her my email address. I used to send out some stuff every couple of weeks for fellow Christians to read. And she subscribed to that. And then I didn't hear from her until the next spring. Well, that's how we met. But how did things develop? Because you probably want to know, like, what was our first date? Because that just doesn't happen. The first date never happens with us. The next spring, my wife filed for divorce. And this was way before I transitioned. That's only been in the last 2 years that I transitioned. So I was a male husband, pastor, father, all that kind of stuff. And my wife filed for divorce. And I wrote about that in this thing that she read via the email. And so in June of 2001, she emailed me that she was feeling badly. And then what happened?
We started emailing, commiserating. I was going through a divorce also at the time. And we started emailing maybe every couple weeks at first. And then a little more often. Until
by the middle of August. I'm sitting there reading emails just going like, I feel like a kid in high school who has a crush. We had never seen each other's pictures. We had never talked to each other. All we had was our words. And I was just growing so fond of her. And I felt like she was too, because we were making little hints in our email. So I sent her this long email on August 21st of 2001 that ended up, here's all the stuff I'm feeling. If you lived in Port Hope, Michigan, we were 950 miles apart. But if you lived here, I would be asking you out. And the next day,
I replied with, wow, I feel all the same things.
And so we just started emailing frantically. I said, I want to talk to you on the phone. She said, I don't want to talk to you on the phone until I have your picture. And we put pictures in the mail, but I was desperate. And finally, we were going to talk on the phone. So if this wants to be our first date, the first time we ever talked on the phone, but we still did not have each other's picture. And I forgot, she's 15 years younger than me. I know, it doesn't look that way, but she's 15 years younger than me. She agreed to talk to me, and I knew that when my phone rang at like 9:30 on a weeknight, that it would be her. So when I answered the phone, I simply didn't say hello. I said, Julie, and she said,
yes.
And these are my very first words I ever spoke to her, and hers to me. Do you have the rest of your life in front of you?
I do.
Will you spend it with me?
I will.
It's a doggone good thing that when she got my picture, she didn't run in horror. I got her picture and just quadrupled everything I was feeling about her. So that's how we got started.
She did, of course. I did, because she wouldn't go out with me. She kept saying I was too young. But she wouldn't go out with me for a minute. I kind of had to convince her because there's an 18-year difference between us, and she has children my age. And so for her being a lady, she was like, oh my goodness, she's clutching pearls, like, oh my God, you're somebody's baby. And it's like, no, but
dating you?
Right, she was not gonna date me. And she kept saying I was too young, and I told her, look, I'm potty trained and I have my driver's license.
What do you
What am I too young for?
Yeah, I don't know how that
I think
happened.
I asked you first.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd hung out a couple times, kind of not dating, just hanging out as friends. But yeah.
Yeah.
You said you, so we'll go with you.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I called him and asked to hang out or something. I'm pretty sure it was me. Yeah.
I don't remember which one of us asked out the other one first. We started out as best friends, and it truly went from there.
I would say I was kind of the pusher, for lack of a better word, for who asked who out first. But what do you think?
I disagree.
Yeah?
I think that after meeting her then, I hadn't heard from her much. You know, I would see her posts here and there on Facebook, and I was like, I need to find an opportunity to meet up with this lady. And that's when we had some friends who were having a 4th of July party and invited us over, and I asked her if she would like to come with me. So,
yeah.
Oh, it'd definitely be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely me. I like to joke that I hunted him down like a gazelle, so.
I asked Pam first, and I was successful. And it pretty much, we knew what we were headed into, because so much of a loving foundation was there.
I'm directionally challenged. So the first 2 times I picked her up, I went to the wrong house. And once I got there, I made quite a splash by losing my contact lens and bursting right past your mother. And I can't remember all we did. We started out, I think, with an apartment of a fraternity brother, and then we just went to a number of bars.
Well, yes, and then...
Well, there was that.
Yeah.
Yes, we ended up at a lovely place, and right around closing time, we left, and I left my jacket in there with the car keys. So I had to walk back to my apartment, wake up the super, get the keys, and then walk back to the car. The whole time, I believe you were bemoaning the fact that you had to get up early in the morning and bake a carrot cake for your Aunt Catherine. But somehow it ended up well, and you agreed to go out a second time.
Greg said, well, how would you like to come here and go with me to church? And I thought, wow. I never expected anybody to invite you to church on a first date. And that's worth driving from Cincinnati to Indianapolis to check out just who is this guy who would do that.
Well, I don't know why she's still with me, because our first date, I fed her popcorn. It was a dinner date. We went to Three Wise Men in Broad Ripple, picked her up from the house. We went over there, hung out, and just ended up chatting for a good almost 2 hours. Just a great conversation.
I think
Got to eat.
I did my typical tell him everything possible bad about me to try and scare him away, because that's what I do on first dates. Or to try and get him to react, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I think
didn't
I could
happen.
tell that was happening.
Yeah, he seemed to, know that was happening pretty quickly. But neither one of us ate or drank anything really at the restaurant, I don't think.
Mm-mm.
But we did make out in the parking lot afterwards.
It's a good date.
Yeah.
Our first date.
Mansfield, Ohio.
Yes.
The home of, that's where they shot Shawshank Redemption, all the prison stuff. So we almost went on a tour there. But there's not a lot to do in Mansfield. And so our first date was actually at a Bible wax museum. We both like wax museum stuff, and that was the only one around, and it happened to be, I think it was like Old Testament. So it was very interesting, to say the least.
He really wanted to go. When we read it in the pamphlet, he was like, yes, we are going. Okay.
And then it was awkward.
And we were the only people there.
Yeah.
I've been blowing kisses since the day began. I've been blowing kisses like a fool.
Kendall came over to London the following spring, well, February, kind of spring, and he was launching an album and playing in Italy, and so he's like, "Oh, you should come along," and we were just sort of friends, as I understood it, and so I said, "Okay, I'll come," and then we stayed with some friends of his, And then he took me to, did you take me to Trevi Fountain?
Yeah, but that wasn't the first kiss.
Yeah, I know it was a fountain, but it was a fountain. And I think he, no, actually it wasn't. It wasn't, it was over breakfast.
Yeah, we were hanging out, and our friends had gone to work, and we were just at their apartment, and making breakfast or something. And we had been, I don't know,
yeah, so it was a breakfast.
spending time together quite a lot, and it just felt really natural for me to just kiss her, and so I did. And then I was like, I don't want that to be like our first kiss. So then I think we made up that we had done it at Trevi Fountain later that day, but it was actuality.
Like oranges or something at breakfast.
Yeah, it was a bit mundane, but nice nonetheless.
Yeah.
She texted me like at the last corner before she was going to come, so I knew she was really close, so I stood in the driveway, and you pulled up, and what happened?
We made out.
You know what I said? The first words I said to you when you arrived was welcome home. And then we made out in the driveway of the parsonage.
Go ahead. Do you remember?
I know that she remembers.
Yes. Our first kiss was, we worked at the Claddagh, and there's this little alleyway that's by what used to be the Red Eye Cafe. And there's like this, it's not an alley, but it's like a side street. And there's people don't drive down there. There's no cars or whatever. And we were walking down there, and it was really secluded. We just stopped at a stoplight or a street light. And that's where we had our first kiss. Yeah. And then we saw some guy in the window in his apartment, remember? Mm-hmm, it was super awkward, naked. Yeah. So we had to leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on, tell the story. Actually, I kissed Dana to like intimidate her and make her go away. It didn't work. It had worked before. It would make people go, oh, what? No, I'm good. And with her, what can I say? It didn't work. And she goes, I wanted to analyze it because that's who I am. I'm so like, what did you think? And she goes, she wanted to talk about it. You can't talk about something like. She's wanting me to stop talking and just let me feel it. It's not that I just remember the kiss and where we were. I remember the feeling of the kiss.
I love you more than I can say.
She definitely said, I love you first.
Oh, me.
She did. She did.
And he made me wait like probably a month after that of like continuing to say it to him before he said it back.
Yeah, I did. I knew I loved you a lot earlier than that. But I was trying to find the right time to say it, and then after days and weeks, I realized that if I kept waiting for the right time, the perfect time was never going to come, so I just told you I loved you.
Out of nowhere, driving down the street in the car.
Yep, sure did.
That would be me.
Well, I said it to you when you were asleep, when he didn't know.
That doesn't count.
And then I wanted to say it, and he was out of town at a wedding on July 28th, at a wedding at his family's, and he was texting me. And that's when he said on a text, I love you, on a text.
Lisa said that she loved me first.
She was getting ready. I said, yeah, definitely. She was getting ready to go on a trip, and I thought, I hate to be a worrywart, but if anything were to happen, she needs to know how I feel.
Yeah.
Me. Totally slipped out in the car. I can't remember the exact moment, but
we were driving somewhere, and I was like, well, I don't know, why are you doing this? And then you told me that, because I love you. And I was like, and it was this silence.
And all I kept saying was, oh shit. What have I done?
Definitely me.
It took me a long time. And it's the same with you, I think. It's I love you is very, very meaningful. That's not something that either of us says lightly.
Correct.
And, you know, my process was a lot longer, I think, as far as falling in love. You know, I had that spark from the moment we met, but, you know, I wanted to make sure. And I mean, even to this day, it just keeps growing. And, you know, people talk about that all the time, and it's almost a cliche now, but it's completely true. My love for her grows every single day.
I love you.
Thank you.
You know, I think it's different, you know, pre-gay marriage, because in our minds, we were married for 16 years. So ours was more of an evolution. It was like, we're already married, but it wasn't as romantic as, you know, you're dating someone for 2 years and then you propose marriage. We were already married in our minds. So ours was more of a, you know, just to get married and again, an evolution of the process. And because we had the right to be married and because we've worked so hard to fight for that right, we had to get married. But we, in our minds, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were already married. So.
Oh yeah, we were.
I proposed first. Pam loves Christmas Day, and there's a story about when she was, I don't know, 3, 4?
2 or 3, yes.
That she packed up this little tiny suitcase when she lived in Virginia with her family, obviously at age 2 or 3. And she put a few things in there and kind of just said, I'm leaving, I'm moving, and just kind of carried her suitcase down the road. And she put like a book and a blanket and some aspirin and, you know,
toothbrush,
you know, because she was real independent at age 3 and her own person. And that story tickled me. So I took the route around our neighborhood with our dog Lucy, who has recently passed, because Lucy had to be there with us. And I found this little vintage suitcase that replicated the one that she had when she was a kid. And on Christmas Day, after we opened presents, I was like, let's go for a walk. So we took a walk around where we live with our dog. And we sat down at a picnic table, and I told Pam to open up her suitcase because there were some stocking stuffers in there. And then I asked her, you know, would she marry me?
There was a ring inside.
And there was a ring inside, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And there was a ring inside. And it was a beautiful day.
It was really special.
I proposed, and it was last summer, July 2nd. And a group of guys I play music with here in Indianapolis, Breakdown Kings, we had a show, the independent show downtown, with some other bands, and I think Ludacris was on the bill and stuff like that. It was a 2-day thing. And so during our set, I had Ben Cannon, who does Spark Joy Music and Fountain Square Brewery and a lot of stuff, get Ashley backstage and try to make up some reason why.
Oh, it was terrible. He was showing me like the speakers and talking to me about the sound equipment. I was like, I just want to go back and stand with my friends and family.
And then I got her on stage real quick, and during one of our songs, we had built in a little interlude, and that's when I proposed to her. So,
In front of all of these people. It was a very Jared proposal, but it was exciting. I was very surprised. So
luckily she said yes. It took a lot of work too, because I had to get Ashley's grandmother is very dear to her, and is no longer with us. And so I had to work with Ashley's sister and her niece and everybody, and ended up getting her grandmother's old wedding ring, because her grandmother raised her, and was able to get that. So it was a lot of covert operations for a while to set that whole thing up. And then we pulled it off, and it worked, luckily.
So the proposal, well, there's the one we count, which is way long before it was legal, right? And so I was a senior as an undergraduate. Gary was a junior.
And I was going to graduate and then go to grad school at the University of Arkansas. And so that was like a threshold, right? And we'd only been together at that point like 3 months or so. And it's like, is this going anywhere? Is it good enough to move somewhere? And you were like, I want to leave the state no matter what, so I might as well go to Arkansas if it works out. And then so we were at the local little mall in Greenville, South Carolina. And Gary says, well, this is like the church to me at the mall. So let's go and look at China patterns.
No, I did not. We went to a movie, and then after the movie, we sat in your car and talked.
Yeah.
And then that's when we pretty much vowed our allegiance to each other in the parking lot of the mall.
And then we went and picked out our China pattern.
Whatever.
Which is Yorktown, by the way.
Back in those days.
The official one was after the Supreme Court had said that the state would have to recognize our marriage if we were married in a state that allowed it. So we just happened to already have a trip planned to Provincetown, Massachusetts. And so it was, unlike the first one, which was pretty romantic, this one was like a text. Hey, we should get married. Okay. And so that was kind of it. And we got married in P-Town.
I had just been thinking about what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to marry him. And his 50th birthday was coming up, and he was planning a trip to Hawaii to celebrate it. And I thought, okay, that would be a really neat place to do a fun proposal, because it'd be a memorable trip. And I thought, what could I do to, make it memorable? So I ordered his ring before we left for the trip, and I had it in my pocket in a jacket that morning when we boarded a biplane over Kauai. And
that's the kind of plane that Snoopy rides in, where we had the goggles and can't talk and can't hear, and it's open-aired above Kauai.
We were about a good 5,000 feet over the North Shore, and the trip was ending, and I could never find a good time to pull this ring out of my pocket. And we were literally about this close.
I have my arm, I couldn't even use my camera. We were stuck in this thing just like this.
So, I'm trying to be discreet to pull this ring out, and
I was sick to my stomach.
I didn't realize he was getting sick, air sick. So I think that was one of the first.
All I could think about was I saw the airport over in the distance, and I was like, 5 more minutes. I'll make it. 5 more minutes. And we'd go over that mountain. Yeah.
So all I did was I had a moment where I could reach in, grab the ring, and slip it on his finger.
He grabbed my hand and went.
And I didn't say anything. I just put it on his finger, and then he didn't say anything. Mm-mm. So I didn't know how to really take it. But the next thing he did say was, "I think I'm going to vomit." So we landed.
I did not.
He did not vomit, but after we caught our breath, he said yes.
Of course, marriage wasn't always legal for us, so it wasn't something that we thought about immediately, right? It was still being hotly contested in Supreme Courts and courthouses all around the country. But by the time 2013, 2014 rolled around, or 2012 actually, 2012, 2013 rolled around, things are starting to change, and it became legal in a lot of different states. And so we had talked about it in the past, and but after I finished graduate school, I had finished school like that June. My birthday was like a few days after that, so we went. Everybody's like, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" I was like, "I want to go to the zoo." And so all of our friends, because they were like, "Dana's only going to go to the zoo. Why do you want to go to the zoo?" Weird. But I knew there was a lot of green space at the zoo, and Maya is a lover of trees, and she's a lover of nature. And I knew that one of our best...
Buttering me up.
Yeah. And one of our best friends is a photographer. And so I was like, make sure you bring your camera. And we were going to, I was going to propose in a nice green space. And so I didn't get down on one knee, because at that time I was like 300 pounds, so getting down on one knee wasn't an option. But I did ask her. Now, I did ask her in public, and all of our friends were there. So she couldn't say no. She couldn't embarrass me like that.
Yes, I get it.
But she said yeah. She said yeah.
He did 90 days and got down on his hands and knees. Well, I guess not hands and knees.
Yes, not like a
begged.
doggy.
He got down on his knee at the English Ivy restaurant around the corner and gave me a Louis Vuitton wallet that matched his Louis Vuitton wallet.
That was our engagement rings, and so we still keep those updated. But what I did was to actually ask his parents' permission first. I mean, this guy from Cincinnati, they had only known me for a few months, and I worked at a museum in Cincinnati, but they still only knew me 6 months, and so I thought it was important to check in with them first. And
their
his
eyes
mom
were very wide.
His mom said,
"Okay,
well, you don't have to ask, but yes, that's nice." And so that's how it started. And after he didn't know about that story until
a little bit later.
Yeah, a little bit later.
We both proposed.
I proposed first. I gathered all his family and all his friends, and then we want to surprise him to his job. And then when we got to his job, we didn't pass security because there was too many people, and it was like a threat or whatever his company said. So we have to go to an Applebee's across the street because it was the only place that it was open. And I proposed at Applebee's.
But, I mean, everybody was involved. He not only had all my friends, all my family there with signs, with billboards, I mean, everything. By the time I got there, which was almost an hour later, the whole restaurant was involved. So even my buddy that I work with, he called me over, said he was having trouble with his wife, needed to have a couple beers, talk about it. And I was like, okay, I'll be right there, no problem. He's a great friend. Walked in, saw him sitting there, and the next thing I know, I turn around and he's on his knee with a tuxedo jacket on.
And like immediately start crying. Like he is like
I'm a slobber bucket. And the whole restaurant stood up. They all started clapping, cheering. It was amazing. And then I looked over and I saw all of our friends and family stand up with the I love you Mike sign, and it was pretty amazing. He did really well.
And then the next day he gave me my ring, like, here's your ring. And I was like, oh, no. No.
He goes, you're going to propose.
You're going to propose to me.
He was having a bad day. And I thought, this will cheer him up a little bit. No, he's Spanish, you got to do it right.
He took me to Disney and he proposed under the Cinderella castle.
But you accepted the ring at first.
I did. I got the ring, and then like the week before I was like, I'm going to give you the ring. You do whatever you want.
So I carried the ring around for like 2 days in my pocket, trying to figure out what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Totally almost panic. And we finally got to the Cinderella castle. We were in the castle. We were finally alone. And I got on my knee. I did the whole thing. I want you to be the princess to my castle and let me be your king and blah. It was really corny, really bad.
It was nice. It was nice.
It was
proposed?
Well, I would say the proposal was from the day that it was given to us federally that, all of our friends were saying, oh, are you getting married? And all of these things. And of course, we had to have that discussion that day. And we knew it would be someday. We just weren't sure exactly when it would be. And we had an opportunity last year and to get our marriage certificate and do a very small wedding with her mother, and with that, I was actually going to a doctor's appointment first in the morning, and she showed up at my doctor's appointment with a rose. And when I opened my door, she knelt down on one knee and asked me to marry her that day, and it was very sweet.
What are you doing later today?
Pretty much.
I had bought this ring, her birthstone. I couldn't afford a diamond. So I got her birthstone, and I bought that, and I put it on the altar at church. We lived right next door to the church. So I whisked her away, took her by the hand, whisked her away to the church, stood her up right where I married many couples right at the altar, and put her in the bride spot. And I went up to the altar, got the ring, stood back down there, and then I repeated the 2 questions, which were the first thing we ever said. And then we necked right there in front of God and nobody else, just God, and he smiled. He loved every minute of it.
Me too.
I proposed. We were having a very difficult time with my mother. She was in a nursing home, and Bob had been there with me for 6 years in the nursing home. And I was having an awful day, and she was having an awful day. And I called him, and I just said, I want to get married tomorrow. And
I was at an auction, in the middle of an auction barn, taking this phone call, and I said, I could barely hear what he was saying anyway. And I said, okay, find out what you need to, what we need to do, and we'll do it. So it was, we had, we wanted to, this was all right after, the laws changed where, we could finally get married.
But not in Indiana, we couldn't get married. So we had to drive to Davenport, Iowa. And we went before a judge to get a variance, I guess they called it at that time, where you didn't have to wait 24 hours. And he asked how long we'd been together, and they were so nice in Iowa. It was not a big deal. And they couldn't understand why it was such a big deal everywhere else.
It was down in Greenwood. It was a little place. Neither one of us are religious, so we wanted it to just be, the ceremony was in the same space as the reception. It was really important to us to have it kind of small, so it was family and friends. Our ceremony really was about having, we really incorporated that fact that they're there to be our support system. They're who supported us to get to that point, and they were there to kind of hold us accountable to our vows, since we don't necessarily believe in a higher power holding us accountable.
The wedding was in P-Town. You had to have a 3-day waiting period, so which fit in well for the 4th of July week that we were out there. So we went in and filled out our paperwork. Didn't know who to ask for to marry us or anything, but it turned out the clerk was a drag queen.
They gave us a list, and we found, it turned out he was a drag queen. But
at the clerk's office, and he married us. And because it was a holiday weekend, there were like 40 of our friends already in P-Town. And so
about 20 of them showed up
for the wedding.
We got married outside in front of one of the memorials there.
To the Mayflower or something.
And then we went to the lobster pot. And there was a long wait. It was full, and I guess the owner or somebody heard us that we had just gotten married, so they opened the back patio and let our party stand out there and drink until we could get seats.
A big table. And I'll just never forget, this older woman came out and she was crying, and she just said, I heard y'all got married. My husband just passed away recently, and I'm just so happy for you that you found each other. And it was just really sweet and very special. So, of course, our families were not too happy, though, because this had all been very last minute, more for a legal reason. And so we agreed to do something, that was 4th of July, so we agreed to do something on our anniversary that would count, which is December 1st. And we rented out a local restaurant, Chef Joseph's, and had 50 of our closest friends and family. And we had Sequoia Pentecost come in and marry us in full drag. Which my boss and my parents, I think, thought was quite funny. So, yeah. So that was our second sort of family wedding.
Our wedding was a little unique, but it was wonderful.
So our last October of 2015 was pretty eventful because Lisa was pregnant, and we wanted to be married before her arrival. So we had our baby shower on October 3rd. We were married on the 4th. Lisa was in the hospital on October 13th, and Lisa gave birth on the 21st. So we got married out on the water on Geist, though, with just our parents and
on our pontoons. Yeah. The water's our happy place, so it was just a very brief, happy thing.
A wedding did happen that day. Elizabeth's mother came to town, and we went to the courthouse in the suburbs and picked up our certificate, and it's the county that I live in. And then we all drove to Terre Haute and went
That's
to
where my parents live.
Yes, went to Elizabeth's home church, and her pastor was kind enough to and happily marry us in front of only her mother. And it was wonderful and beautiful, and we had our witness and we had our officiant, and it worked out great. And here we are, and we are happy that we're able to take, have the same, all the benefits of marriage that all people have, and including health benefits that we can share, and shared taxes even, and things like that are beneficial to a married couple. So,
and that security pretty much in every aspect of life, whether it's something, an event that is joyful, or heaven forbid if something bad should happen to either one of us, she is the one that I want to be able to be by my side.
So the wedding, we kind of did it like a guerrilla wedding on our own. It was just Shyla and I, a friend of mine, and another friend that ended up coming up. So we flew to California and went to, and we're married in Yosemite. So I had a friend that got ordained for, I'm not sure how he did this, but he got on the internet and he was legally able to perform a wedding for us. And another friend came up as a witness. So we didn't have a ton of money or a ton of time off of work, and we were trying to decide like what's the best way to do this. And having I have a large family, and we're trying to figure out how we could afford to do everything. And we just settled on let's just go do a wedding on our own, and we'll do a honeymoon trip, and it'll all just kind of be rolled together. So we were out there for a week, and we drove. We spent a night in San Francisco and saw the Golden Gate and some things that's there in San Francisco, and drove down to Big Sur, so 3-4 hours maybe south on Highway 1. So the kind of classic coastal drive, and then we spent 3 or 4 days in Yosemite, and we're married at Taft Point, which is a point above the valley with a 3,000-foot drop. And Shyla had some beautiful pictures, and we were married at sunset, gorgeous. And it was awesome. Really, it was everything I'd hoped it would be. That trip was it was amazing. It really was.
We didn't really have any set plans, and I think that's what made the trip and the wedding so unique and so memorable for us, because we're going to remember that for the rest of our life. And we're not traditional people by any means. I think weddings are beautiful and they're great. Everybody does them, and everyone gets worked up and stressed, and we're just not those people. We didn't want that at all, and we just made it our own, and I think that's so beautiful, and we're going to love it forever.
Our wedding was we loved our wedding. It was really simple. It was in Zionsville. We found this place. It used to be called the Noel Sanctuary, so it was a church that they turned into an art gallery. Yeah, and Nancy Noel she makes these huge, beautiful portraits, so that was our backdrop of our wedding. That was also in an old, like 100-year-old church, stained glass windows. It was just really beautiful, and we just really didn't care about flowers or colors or food or anything like that. We just wanted to get married, and we wanted to have a good photographer and good music, and we had that. And then we just said our wedding was just nothing bad happened. It all went so smooth. It was a really fun wedding. And we actually went to the Claddagh after we left the sanctuary in Zionsville just to go visit, because that's where we met. And they ended up having a DJ there that we didn't know, and had a total second reception at the Claddagh. Our whole family was there. Mm-hmm. It was really fun. We had a really good time.
Oh, we got married in our backyard. Our cousin was our coordinator. Our family and our friends was there. And it was just absolutely beautiful. It was too hot, but wow.
It was beautiful. We wrote our own vows.
Yeah.
Her sister married us. Her mother walked her down the aisle. My nephew walked me down the aisle. So it was a family affair. Her grandkids were in the wedding, and It was really about our backyard ceremony was really about our family.
I feel like that's our real wedding date. Though we went to Hawaii and got married because
Legally.
it wasn't legal here yet. But I still view the date that we were with family and friends as my official date. My one grandson was the ring bearer, the other one was the broom bearer. They took their jobs very seriously.
They did. They studied on how to play these roles, right? And then our best friends, my niece was our flower girl. I mean, it was really all about family.
It really was. It was absolutely beautiful. Glitches, yeah, but it was beautiful.
Beautiful. And then, I ain't gonna lie, I'm the baby in my family, so I'm a little spoiled. So I wanted the big wedding because at this point I'm 44. I don't even remember. I'm past my 20s and 30s when most people get married. And I'm like, I'm going to do this one time. I want a nice big wedding. She was like, yeah, whatever. But then I also wanted this intimate wedding. So we ended up doing a beach wedding in Hawaii. So I got both. I got the big wedding in front of family and friends, and
then the intimate wedding.
And then the intimate wedding.
Just us.
Yeah, we wrote our vows out, and I think I wrote a novel.
My visa was expiring, and I told him I'm gonna become an illegal immigrant, and I have to go, and I can't stay here anymore. And then he told me, "Let's get married, and so you can stay here."
I said, "Well, we're gonna fix it." That was my first reaction. And
well, he gave me a 9-page prenup, and then he told me, "Let's get married," which I signed.
He did.
And then we got married, and then after the wedding, I told him, I don't want my wedding to be a business transaction. I know that we got married because I needed to stay in the States, but I want a real wedding. It was probably the best wedding that I'm a makeup artist. I do millions of weddings all the time. So I wanted to be perfect and over the top, and it was perfect and over the top. And it was fantastic.
It was beyond over the top.
We have 2 wedding stories. We got married in our church. It was a union ceremony, so because we couldn't legally get married at that point, the church was full of lots of friends and people from near and far. Wonderful day. Mm-hmm. And then we got legally married about 5 or 6 years later.
In Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, Mom, let's not worry about a dress." So I just went up in the attic and found this old antique dress from the 1890s. I said, I'll work with that. And so that's what I did. And I made a veil and carried one little flower and a couple mums. And then we had the wedding at the reception in our backyard. So that worked out. It worked out really nice.
It was a perfect day. Absolutely perfect. Sun shining. Church service took about 15-20 minutes in and out. That's all you really need, and the reception was lovely.
And I was raised Catholic, and Kimball was raised Christian Scientist, so that was kind of a little friction there. But
not on our part.
You can tell them what Father O'Brien said.
Oh, well, you're supposed to go through training, and I think that's, I don't know what you call it. Anyway, it lasted an hour or so. And I think basically he said, "So you think you'll be raising the children Catholic?" And I said, "Father, I'll think about it." Fine. What do you think of the Packers' chances this year? So basically the last 45 minutes we talked sports.
So that was his religious instruction.
Oh, that's what it is, yeah.
Unfortunately, at the time in 2008, when we got married, January 2008, we couldn't do it in our country and have an actual wedding. So we had a blessing on Sunday, January 27th, at our church, where his family from Cincinnati drove over, and my family from here attended up at 56 and Keystone, a church called then Jesus MCC, now it's Life Journey. And they had a blessing during the church service. Then we got in a rent-a-car and drove to Niagara Falls, Canada, and had our wedding there. I think it was a chapel within a Holiday Inn downtown.
Yes.
That we found the lady online, and as you know, Niagara Falls, Canada is like one of the wedding capitals of the world.
Right? Las Vegas is the divorce capital. I don't know.
Divorce and re-wedding capital.
So the other reason that we went to Canada, though, is because, so I spent 10 years at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, where it was always talking about the road north and people, with no rights coming up north and escaping all the way to Canada so that they would have the freedom to marry, they would have the freedom to live and be free. And so I thought we would, in a way, sort of create our own underground railroad by going to Canada.
We write and play music together. We did, and I really enjoy that. That makes me happy. We like to travel, and that's something that I enjoy doing with you.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. We watch funny shows
Picnic?
together. Yeah. Bike ride.
We ride bikes a lot.
We had now since then have a little girl, a daughter, and so she has a seat on my bike, and we just tootle around and explore together. Mm-hmm. That's fun.
Because Maya does have some physical limitations, going out and going to people's homes are not always easy because people have stairs and they have, and it's not, and so it just makes life a little bit more difficult. But enjoying that downtime with each other at home on the sofa, curled up with the dog,
and having family over.
And family and
That's the
friends
best.
coming over. I enjoy cooking for her.
I think something that we enjoy a lot is just that quiet time together, whether it's enjoying simple things. We don't need to talk constantly either. It's a comfortable silence if we need, and that in itself, just being in the presence of each other, is fantastic.
Life is crazy enough, and so when you have that comfortability and love that transcends having to speak, that's amazing, and it's a great relief after a busy work week or something like that. And I would definitely say whatever we choose to do in relaxation, so that whether that's a bottle of wine or that's what we do.
We do have plenty to talk about. We never run out. But at the same time, so many people feel the need to fill silences or feel awkward in front of somebody else. But it's absolute with us.
We do a lot of stuff together. We both like biking. We do a lot of races together. We're pace leaders at NIFS for the mini marathon. I just finished my 29th half marathon, and Kimball was injured, so he had to do the 5K this year. But so we do a lot of that. We love to bike to all the microbreweries. Yeah, and that's a lot of fun. We both love reading. We're just avid readers. We volunteer a lot. We volunteer in the neighborhood. Kimball volunteers for historic landmarks. I volunteer for the Pacers Bike Share and Woodruff Place, and just...
Well, and you absolutely love gardening, getting out in the garden.
Yeah.
And I love getting out there and watching you.
Yes, you do.
I actually have the title of mulch boy. That's my main job.
That's his main job, yeah. So it just seems like more and more we have more in common. When we were, just married, and then we started our family, I think our interests revolved around our girls. And then once they were gone, we just found other things that we really enjoyed doing together.
I love the way you smile. I love how much you care. I love how you go up to someone alone, just sitting there.
I don't know. We're both very different people that didn't ever plan on finding a person that felt like the other half of us, because I think we both thought we were way too weird for that.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess I can say from a uniqueness perspective, just within my own life experience, right, that I would say that this love is unique to me because it's a relationship where I feel like I can be 100% myself at all times and know that the other person is there to support me and love me back, and just kind of take the uniqueness for granted, and that means a lot to me.
We do both love each other and we're content. You know, I'm just not a believer, and I don't think he is either. The grass is not greener on the other side, you know. So I don't go looking, you know. And I think he has the same philosophy. So that's why our bond is so tight. I mean, I see us together for 50 years because I have no interest in anyone else.
Seems like 50 years, doesn't it? I remember at first when Nicole said something to the effect of like, we're a team. And I think that for whatever reason, that kind of like turned me off, like, team, like that sounded kind of like something hokey to say maybe, but she's totally right. And that's exactly what it is. And I think that you have to do that. And with 2 kids now, we do have to work as a team sometimes. And, you know, you try to keep the romance in there when you can. But some days are hard and you have to, you know, I think that's what makes us unique, is that we both realize that this is work. It's not always, you know, romance and fairy tales.
I think what makes us unique is that we're not, I don't want to say we don't have stars in our eyes, because that sounds really like we're not in love, but it's not, no. I mean, we don't have an idea that it has to be glamorous. I mean, it's, you know, it just has to be real.
To be able to laugh too, when things are hard, or, you know, when the kids are climbing the walls, you know, what do? You know, they're going to do that regardless. So you can laugh about it, or you can.
And I think, I mean, we do a great job, especially David, of not falling into gender roles. I mean, it's not you should be doing this or I should be doing that. We just do what needs to get done. And we just support each other.
We're laughing all the time. We just make each other laugh a lot. We have a really unique family background, maybe our parents. When we met, we realized that our parents went to the same church. My dad is gay, his mom is gay, and we didn't know that getting together. And they went to the same church together. They lived really close together. And so our family is, on his side and my side, are all very close. We celebrate all our holidays together. You know, which I know a lot of people don't do that, but we do everything together. All of us do, so.
I think the way we fell in love is unique from the inside out. We both admitted that had we just met each other in a normal way, we probably would not have been each other's type. But
I don't think if I saw her at a party in a room of 50 people that she would have caught my eye.
When you fall in love with the core of a person, then that creates a bond that is unique.
I think Shia and I saw the kind of the authentic versions of each other very early on. And we both have had some traumatic things happen, you know, before we'd met each other. And I think that we just met each other on a kind of a realness that is unique in and of itself, to find that with friendships or lovers or whatever. So I think starting with that, and then and just kind of building, always kind of being, like I said, like that authentic self is what kind of gives us something that I think is unique, at least for her and I.
When he was single, it was like, okay, this is happening because he's supposed to be. I never had any.
It's not the way it's supposed to happen. You're supposed to meet somebody. You're supposed to date. You're supposed to do other things, and we kind of did everything backwards.
We did everything backwards. Like, we met, we got married, and then we went on our first date, and then we went to, you know, like, everything has been like backwards from what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't know. We just knew. That's the unique part. I mean,
I still know.
Oh yeah, you're all right.
I think what makes it unique is from day one, I've always been, I'm going to say, allowed, and other people understand what that means, to be myself. I didn't have to do any adaptations to fit into our relationship, and nor did she. You know, she lives her life, I live mine, and we live ours. And that's really important. When she started to run for office, it was like, oh my God, really?
We talked about it first, though. It wasn't like I just did it.
I feel like if a person has a calling, something they really feel fire in their belly about, it just is not right to say, well, you know, I'm not on board with that. I'm not comfortable with that. I just don't think that's fair. It would be kind of like her asking me not to use my herbs or something. You know, we allow each other to be ourselves, and that's important.
I think our love is unique because for me personally, Ashley came into a situation where I have 2 daughters already, one who's 15 and one who's 9. And with the 15-year-old being a special needs child, that's not something you find every day. Someone that's willing to come in and take on that type of responsibility and to love a child or children like you would. So for me, Ashley is just the most amazing person ever. She loves my kids like they're hers, and they love her like she's theirs. And it's just, I've never seen anything like it. So it's very unique to me.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
So actually what makes our love last, I think that's one of the easier questions to answer, and that is that we're friends still after all this time. And I think that's really important. So, we like hanging out with each other, which is kind of important since you're together all the time. And that makes it easier to talk to. And we've kind of learned how to talk things out pretty well.
Communication.
One counselor that you had been to said one time, he can't read your mind. And of course, I'm introverted, so I don't like to express anyhow, but that helped a lot too. He'll sometimes say, I know you cannot read my mind, but this is what, and so we can have a discussion. So.
I'd say our love lasts is we have a lot of fun. We really do. We laugh a lot.
Game of Thrones. Once that's over, we're done. I think that's holding us together, pretty much.
Yeah. We depend on that a lot. We laugh a lot. Yeah, we have a good time.
Yeah.
Even though everybody gets on each other's nerves in relationships, when it comes right down to it, the little things he does for me on a day-to-day basis makes me remember how much he loves me. And I can get over the silly things real quick.
Kendall makes me laugh. I like really bad jokes, like terrible jokes.
And I've got a lot of them.
He's got awful jokes, just like cringe. When you break open a Christmas cracker in the UK, you pull these things and you get these party hats and little whip jokes, and it's so awful.
We have Laffy Taffy ones here.
And they're so bad, but I love them. And he always says it makes him feel really good. So I love his jokes so much, and I think.
Sometimes, though, I'll say one, and it's so bad that even you can't laugh. Right. You're like, no, that's actually too far down.
Yeah, too dad.
It's beyond,
but and just love you. So.
I think our definition of love is it's just the context of it has just evolved as we've been together. It's a lot of it has been, especially early on, is just getting to know each other, and now we know how to support each other and when we need to be there for each other. And I think that goes back to how our definition of love is unique for us as it would be for anyone that have that bond. And so it's something that works for us.
And it's broader and deeper. Love is broader and deeper now than it is when you first meet somebody. That's a different love.
Communicating.
We talk a lot. We
even throughout the course of busy days, we take time to spend a few minutes on the phone with each other, to check in with each other, to laugh.
Humor.
To put the day down when we first get home for a few minutes and spend that first few minutes that we see each other really making that about each other and not about whatever's happened throughout the course of the day. I think we have done a really good job of putting our relationship in the number one spot.
Absolutely. I was going to say making it a priority.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that she's cute, right? I think her spirit is so positive and so it draws you in. I was gonna love her anyway. It just so happened that she was cute. You know, that's a bonus, right? You got somebody that's gonna treat you right and love you right and they cute. I'm saying that's a bonus.
Someone once said, you know, getting married is easy. It's just staying married. That's the tricky bit. And God, were they right? But at the same time, it puts all kinds of good into the world, and I think that's always a good thing. So,
I think that the love angle is interesting. We have a lot of friends that are different types of relationships, and we were just talking tonight about how our relationship would have been illegal not that very long ago. You know what?
69.
Yeah, 1969, I guess. And so I think it's important to, if love exists, to encourage that, and be it whatever shape it takes.
Yeah.
For us, having a interfaith relationship, right? We have both families who are very deeply rooted in the religious beliefs and the traditions of their religions, you know, both on her side and on my side. You know, she's got, you know, a brother who's a youth pastor. I have two brothers who are basically the equivalent, you know, from our mosque back home. My dad was the imam of our mosque back home, right? So that was definitely very deeply ingrained in how I grew up, and I know very much also in how Kylie grew up as well. I would say that it was a worry coming into it that, you know, what does it look like to blend those two families together, right? And I think that, you know, one thing we found was that it wasn't as big of a challenge from a family perspective as we thought it might be. You know, when you have people that I think are truly devoted to living a good life through faith, it also means understanding or at least accepting in some way of other people, right? And being good to other people and not spreading evil in the world. And I think we experienced that with both of the families.
The humor aspect is really important, I think. You gotta laugh and you gotta laugh at, and you gotta be around people that are happy.
We just wouldn't trade it for the world. We're just lucky to find each other. We have a lot of the same friends and have known each other, all those people for years, and we just never came across each other. And it's been the best chapter of my life, you know.
So,
pretty
absolutely,
cool.
Agreed.
I just think it continues to get better every year.
Well, I guess the only thing I might add is hopeful that young people are watching, you know, and are interested in this. But, you know, you can't take it for granted, being LGBT in the U.S. right now.
I don't know what's next as far as another adventure, but I know there's always going to be one because of Kevin. So I'm very excited about that.
I had told my first wife before we got married that in those days I was a transvestite, late 70s, that word's not used anymore. When I told Julie, I said, I'm a cross-dresser. I don't know why, but all my life I've wanted to be a girl, but I've satisfied it by being a cross-dresser. And you said?
I don't really know exactly what that was, but it was obvious to me that it was an inherent part of Gina. And to me, those who suffer much receive much more grace. And that's the way I approached it, that I know this is a part of you, and I love you, and just help me, teach me.
Teach me, she said.
Teach me who you are.
And that was only a few weeks before we got married when I moved her back to Michigan. But she asked me, do you think you ever want to become a woman? And I wish she hadn't asked me because I didn't want to have to face up, or I didn't want to scare her or scare myself. And I answered honestly, I said, I don't want to now. I want to be your husband, and I love being a pastor, and I'm a dad and all that stuff. But I know this thing has gotten progressively harder for me over the years. And then in 2013, it almost killed me. Gender dysphoria, that word means ill feelings, where you just sort of hate yourself. Your mind and your body are in absolute conflict with each other. And so I got to the point early in 2013, I was still a minister. I was a minister until the summer of 2014 when I finally retired. And I had to sit Julie down and say the words I never ever wanted to say to her. I said, if I don't transition, I might not survive. And then you said the most wonderful words. What did you say?
I said, we'll figure it out.
That's all anybody ever wants to hear. We'll figure it out. We, that means together. That means I won't lose you. In fact, we've gained so much. If whoever watches this, if they hear one thing from us, through adversity, when people work together through adversity with the common goal of strengthening each other, of loving each other, they come out stronger, never weaker, stronger. We are just plain crazy about each other, and we already were. I love you.
Love you.
I adore you.
I adore you.
I'm crazy.
Crazy about you.
The best relationship advice I would give to someone else would, just from my experience, is just to try to remember that you don't always have all the answers, even though sometimes it really does feel very genuinely like you are right in a certain situation. And this happens to me all the time, but you feel justified in what you're doing, and then after things change and you look at it a couple different ways or take some time, you have to keep an open mind, and you have to learn to be wrong.
I don't.
No, yeah. Yours is going to be the opposite statement. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think if you pay attention to each other, for someone, just pay attention, put the phone down, quit reading Facebook, and talk. And be together and talk and share meals together. Just like when you have a family of children, I think it's really important to have meals together and to talk and to catch up on the end of the day.
As he said, we complement each other. He puts up with my flaws, and I have plenty of them. Ooh. And I put up with a couple of his. And but and I think that's the biggest thing, is to keep working on the relationship. Mm-hmm. Keep making it fun. Mm-hmm.
I think finding someone who shares the same values that you do, I think that's very, very important. And don't expect to have everything. Don't expect to have your parents' house in year one. Wait till year two.
I think getting to know each other. I think when we were first married, we didn't have children for, I think it was 7 years. I think you just have to make an effort to get to know each other, and you have to learn how to give and take. That's some do it better than others, but I think you have to listen. And sometimes you just have to say, I was wrong. And I think I'm doing that more and more now.
Well, and start out with pets before kids, I would say. Have a couple dogs or cats and just see how the sharing goes, kind of.
Advice we could give to anyone else would be to think about the other person and honesty. Mm-hmm. No matter what, honesty. And it's not going to be a perfect world. I mean, you're going to make each other mad. You're going to have fights, and people that say they don't, They do, or it's not going to last.
As corny as this sounds, I would say practice the golden rule with your spouse. You should do that with everyone, but it's especially important with the person that's the most important person in the world to you. Do you like to be yelled at? Do you like to be belittled? Do you like to be lied to? No. Do you want to be encouraged? Do you want to be respected? Do you want honesty? Yes. Then do those things. Do those things to your spouse.
And honest to goodness, when you do well at practicing the golden rule with your spouse, it overflows to your kids and your grandkids and your neighbors and your friends and your coworkers. And we could actually have a halfway decent world.
Love is at its best when it's unconditional.
And love is where it all starts, love and compassion.
What love you really have for that person and what that all entails. And it all entails what we've been saying, patience. There's patience in love, there's a respect in love, all of those things. It's just not, wow, you're really good looking. That's a great part of love, but there's more to it. It gets deeper and broader and different, and it's just like everybody says, it's 80 years old. That's what they said too. They said, it's not just that, it changes and it becomes something else. And you need to go on that ride and go with it and take it all in. And so, I think it's very different than when we first met. I have a completely different love feeling for him than when I first met him.
Love fills in every single thing, and your heart is not full without love. And you don't have to have a mate to have love. There's this wonderful spousal kind of love. There's wonderful love for parents and kids and friends and coworkers and so forth. And every one of those is valuable. Love of country. People who have this marvelous love of country or community or their job or whatever, that just gets to the depth of what a human being is. And it makes our life so much more rich. And then when we have it, we can give it. You can't give what you don't have. So when you experience love, then you can give it back. And then it's like putting seeds into the ground. And then that love can grow in other places. Your children learn it from you, and then they can grow it, and then they can give it out, and so forth. It's a marvelous, marvelous thing.
I can't imagine anything without love. I am for lack of a better word, and the word's been so wore out, I'm a spiritual person, and I believe that which raises and sets the sun is the embodiment of love. Without it, if you distill all our problems down, basically it's because there is love lacking in that space where there is an issue. Like they say, love makes the world go round. And without it, worlds don't move.
I don't think we as human beings are wired to being alone. I think you need it's a big world out there. It's a scary world out there. There's a lot of challenges out there. And you need someone to navigate that with you. I think that's a big important piece to me, right? The idea even that as you're trying to process something on your own and figure things out, you're going to get stuck up in your own head space, your own head garbage, right? And having someone that's always accessible to you that you can talk to through that, right? And that can set you right when you don't know what you're talking about and you're kind of just emotional and, doing something wrong, and someone that can celebrate with you and that knows how you got there along the way, right? We get some of these things from our friends, for sure, right? But having someone that is close to you all the time, I think is even more important. And that's why love's important to me. Knowing that you got your person, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, there are lots of other types of love that are very important to me. You know, I didn't get married for the first time until I was 36 years old. So the love of my family and my friends and many, many people are very, very important to me. But really, until I met him, I feel like the only person I ever felt like loved me completely unconditionally was my mom. And that's lucky. I realize most people don't even have that. So finding somebody that I knew that I know it's unconditional. I know like that I can mess up, and I know that he can mess up, and I know that things are going to happen in our life, and that we're going to have our struggles, and that things aren't always going to be perfect. But having somebody that I know is not going anywhere because of something like that is super important to me.
Oh my, love is everything.
Be a song title.
Yeah. I can't have the Beatles going on in my head, but I think you're nowhere without it. It's more than in friendship. It's just an acceptance of somebody to be a part of you.
Again, to use the known phrase, love is love is love is love. And we often say, I love you, all the loves.
All the different ways. Yes.
Which means, you can love, family members in a platonic way. You can love someone romantically. You can be in love with someone, and I feel every single love for her.
We have all of the levels, definitely.
Love is a gift. There's not enough love in this world. And when you find it with someone who loves you for all of you, it is truly the biggest gift in the world, because I know for me, I couldn't go out in my day-to-day, and that's just my day. I'm not comparing my day to anyone else, but I get to come home and know that Pam's there, and I get to go out into the world knowing Pam's there. And it's a gift that keeps on giving, I think, more than people even realize. So love is special.
And even beyond your relationship with the person that you're with every day, love in general, I think it's what we need right now. And when you nurture that close to yourself, you're able to give it to others. And hopefully love is going to see us through this little bit of a tough time that everyone's having right now.
Love is to be celebrated and not to be judged. Always celebrated. And that promotes kindness to others as well, including yourself, because if you can't be kind to yourself, who can you be kind to? So
very true.
Love is important, I think, to be full and complete. I think to be open to all types of love for children, love for animals, love for each other. But in a relationship, I think just it rounds you out as a complete person. I don't think that you can really be fully complete without love.
And I think just joining our lives has been such a joy, and for both of us. She has a huge family. I come from a very small family, so it's just completed me in a whole other way that I never even knew was possible. And I think it's just finding those bits in each other that complete you as a human and makes you feel fuller.
Mm-hmm.
I think this project is needed for kind of the state that our world is in today. We need to talk about love and share it with as many people as possible.
Simply put, you're the reason why I live, and I wanna give you every everything that I have to give, and I'd do anything that you ask me to do. Oh, 'cause you're everything to me. Candles on the mantel, there's coffee in my cup, books laying around full of pictures of the both of us. Sometimes it takes you a while, realize that you're already home. All I know is you're everything to me. And I don't need $1 million and no fancy car. It ain't what you're wearing, my darling, what makes you who you are. And I've been all around the world and I tasted many counterfeit love. What I got right here is plenty enough. Oh, you're everything to me. Yes, you're everything to me. And it don't take perfect eyes to see what I need to see. Oh, that you're everything to me. And it don't take perfect eyes to see what I need to say. Oh no, no, 'cause you're everything to me. Yeah, yeah, you're everything to me. You're everything to me.
Try to find the words that I want to say. So many times, I've asked myself and found the way to be simple. Muddy feet through the wet grass, burning fires and beach glass under skies of blue.